all these 54 countries together in Africa, if they work together, they create supranational taxes to everything which is exchanged in Africa. They will be able to collect 30 to 70 billion, and it's a projection of trillion every 10 years. This is possible? Yes, it is possible indeed. An example. Remember, Nigeria has created what they called Mandela tax. That tax was charging every worker around 2%. From 1970 to 1994, managed to collect almost $60 billion to help Southern Africa on this side to fight against apartheid. So if Nigeria can do that on those difficult moments, what about all these 54 countries together? We know their corruption. Once you identify where to go about, there's a private sector which can go there and collect these finances in exchange of a certain percentage. For example, if you will be charging 0.5% to everything which is exchanged in Africa, we'll be able to collect this money. Another example, within the 11 proposals, there is this digital economy. We know that Africans, we are spending a lot in data. In few years from now, we spend $300 billion, which will be contributing to African GDP. Can get something there. So the Lord is saying, focus only on building urgently the African integrated high-speed railway, which is already under Agenda 2063. But it has got issues. Really, Agenda 2063 can fail like other agendas for development that happened before because they are lacking money. The first 10 years which they are collecting that money, we focus only on these two projects. Why? Because this integrated high-speed railway is about there to connect all the 54 countries. 30% of African countries are landlocked. Those countries, they are very rich on minerals. If they access the coast, they will be able to really improve their income. Also, people moving within Africa within 2 hours or within 1 day or 2 days, it will help goods to be exchanged. It will boost our economies. And in fact, without this project, the trade agreement which has to be in place soon won't be successful. Even if when we compare big countries like Congo, DRC, it has got provinces which they don't need trade agreement, but they don't share goods. So we don't want to see a trade agreement where only the Western or the Chinese will share good on top, but the people inside are not sharing good. We don't want to share poverty. We want to share good. The second one is Grand Inga Dam. The lack of electricity is a huge problem. Almost 50% of Africa countries have got less than 500 megawatts. So within these 10 years, taking this money, helping to finance this one. Then EU, we own, for example, 30%. And then there will be private sector which will take care of the management. We own also shares. And DRC in terms of Grand Inga Dam, it will own also because that's where it belongs. They will be collecting supranational taxes, still collecting also these shares, be able to collect $500 to $1 trillion. This money now will be going to African Development Bank. This is very, very important because African Development Bank, that's where we have to target. That's where God is asking for this African Development Bank to be changed and become the IMF of Africa, the Exim Bank of Africa, the ISBN of Africa, the World Bank of Africa. This is the plan that the Lord has from money from his people, from African people, going up, building infrastructures, going up again, feed African Development Bank $1 trillion on the next decade. As Western taxpayers, they suffer to conquer Africa. So African taxpayers should suffer to save Africa. For example, Europe, they tax a lot, 3 times what Africa tax. Europe can tax as a little things in rural areas. Since long time, Europe has been doing that. So this is inevitable. This African integrated high-speed railway, Grand Inga Dam, these are key. We don't have to use this money loose. We have to make sure that we focus to first 10 years to be able to collect them efficiently and build this infrastructure as faster as we can. Really, if we keep on this trend without to create this Pan-African financial freedom, we're likely to see losing our continent easily because many things are happening without to know. Even if on land grab is huge, we see the last 10 to 15 years, Africa has sold almost a size of France. We saw China has already bought a size of Malawi, and they are very fast on buying land. So we don't want to reach to 50 years from now, where now we lose in political dependency. Then we go back to fight for political dependency. We have now to fight for financial dependency to protect the little political independency still have. So we have to know that this fight is the same fight that we did fight for political independency. It has to be seen all together. You leaders, 54 of you Pan-Africanists, looking on the aspect of finances, which is so easy to do right now. That when you sit together, you create as little as you can, but you are able to create as much as you can. And the African people, they are ready to participate. If we can make this money available, almost $1 trillion to the African Development Bank in the next 10 to 20 years, then we'll be able to stabilize our Africa for the next 200 years. That's what the Lord is calling us. He's calling us to be an economic power for the next 200 years and remove poverty out of our people. As Western taxpayers, they suffer to conquer Africa. So African taxpayers should suffer to save Africa. What this organization we do, we go and look how to rebase the economies of Africa. You have to know that these countries, they don't do their statistics. They have to renew their statistics. Some of them, their economy have grown, but they don't know. Nigerian, which decided to look at their statistics. They became overnight the first economic power in Africa, taking over from South Africa, just by rebasing their economy, which thought 270 billion, they found themselves there, they were at $510 billion. This is very important because it's helped how to identify other tax income, and they can be able to recruit other taxpayers. Ghana also, it was 2010, they updated their GDPs and they found they grew 60% by just doing that. They managed to move to the low, mid-low society. The book speaks about the industrialization, and there are 7 ways we can be able to industrialize Africa within 20 years. For example, government, the way they ask money to build roads, with 50 million, we can build really like 10 companies. And when they are in the growing stage, and sell them directly, not to keep them, because they become zombies. They will depend much because corruption. But when they are in the growing stage, then you sell them to the private sector. Also, this book speaks about sub-regions. These sub-regions in Africa, we know ECOWAS, we know SADC, we know East Africa, we know COMESA. These organizations, it's time that we see that they've done well, but now they are not needed anymore. We have to make sure that all the concentration are on the continental scope, which means we already have African Continental Trade Agreement with its secretariat in Ghana. We have to make sure that these organizations are dissolved. Then we can be able to concentrate on the African Continental Trade Agreement, which has the aspirations of all these ECOWAS or these sub-regions would come to the market and come to the projects. Because Africa is the only one which is looking to have more sub-regions. But when we are all in one, we can be able to look in the continental aspect and move faster. We have to speak about African demographic trend, and sometimes they always say that Africa, a demographic trend is a problem. No, this is not a problem. It's not a case. Is a blessing. So when you look, for example, at African continent, it's got 30 million kilometer square, which is equal to China, India, United States of America, European Union, Argentina, all combined, they've got 29 something million kilometer square, which Africa itself has got 30 million, almost the same. But when you look at our population, we have got 1.3 billion people, but them, they've got almost 3.6 billion to the same surface area. So when we see the Western agencies trying to push for our population, no, is not the issue. In fact, to reach that population growth, we reach 3.6 billion people by 2080 to 2100. So we have to focus. Is a blessing. Why is a blessing? The economic growth has always been preceded by the demographic growth. We know that in 18th century, Europe has doubled the population and the economy grew. In 19th century, the population of United States grew because of immigration, which was coming in from Germany, England, France, going to their towns in the United States of America. And it grew the economy mightily. We know, for example, China, Japan, and South Korea. From 1960 to 2015, China has tripled from 500 to 1.4. So we have to know that is a blessing. We don't have to be scared about it. What we need is to integrate much more, to exchange goods, is to industrialize fast, and is to be able to build these infrastructures. Because even if we can have this continental agreement, as we cannot exchange goods, or we don't have enough good to exchange with such population growth, then it will be huge inequality, it will be a chaos for our continent. So this is inevitable. This African integrated high-speed railway, Grand Inga Dam, these are key. We don't have to use this money loose. We have to make sure that we focus to first 10 years to be able to collect them efficiently and build these infrastructures as faster as we can. A call to all African people, a call to all Pan-Africanists, join our movement, which is in South Africa, to go to every single African Union General Assembly at the door and to impose this process to happen. No money will be asked from you. You will buy your own ticket by yourself. You will book your own hotel. All what is needed is your physical presence. business. On this generation, we have good presidents, but we don't help them as Pan-Africanists. They are ready to act. We just gonna insist the total financial liberation of Africa. African population is about to double. If we don't liberate ourselves financially, we just gonna eat each other. It is by being free financially that corruption will gradually end. It is by being free financially that we become politically free. It is by being free financially we'll be able to exploit our minerals. We'll be able to feed our poor people with enough money and be able to exploit their creativity. It is by being free financially we gain our position at the UN Security Council. It is by being free financially we protect our president who are vulnerable of assassination every single day. Please subscribe that this reach to many people. Register, be a member of this movement that we might liberate Africa. God bless.